Hello, friends. I am streaming from the mountains of Utah, um, up here in Sundance. And immediately after this office hours, I will be um, back up there. I know that it doesn't sound great, but this is what you got to do to get this powder. So, anyway, I am just sharing the link to the Zoom and the YouTube live stream and Discord. If you've never been to office hours before, it's just your opportunity to ask me questions about anything. I do have the Call Kent podcast where you can ask questions there, but sometimes people want to share their screen or they want to have like a conversation back and forth. So that's what office hours is for. So I give priority to people who join the Zoom, but I also have the Discord. And so if you want to post your questions during the week or something and let me answer those when office hours rolls around, then that works as well. So with all that said, let me share my screen since there's nobody here yet. Oh, just kidding. That just changed. Taryn, hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. My shirt came.
Oh, dude, that is awesome. That looks great, man.
Yeah,
I'm actually wearing my red Cody today also.
Nice.
Right under my Remix hoodie. So
nice.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Welcome. Did you have any questions for me before I get into Discord?
I posted one on Discord actually not too
long
long
ago. Okay. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, cool. Let me take a look. So I was working on transitioning my site from Gatsby to Remix. Curious why? That's exactly what I did. Curious why didn't you use the GraphQL API for fetching your MDX content from GitHub? Oh yeah, I remember reading this. So yeah, Remix doesn't have any problem with GraphQL. You would totally use it, no problem. The reason that I didn't go with GraphQL API was because I seem to recall hearing that GitHub is, I know this, GitHub doesn't actually have all of the features in the GraphQL API. They've added stuff to the rest that isn't in GraphQL. And that's, I don't know whether my coverage of, I think actually there were some things I couldn't do in the GraphQL API. But even if that were not the case, that signals to me pretty strongly that GitHub is not betting heavily on the GraphQL API. And I have heard rumblings that they regret their GraphQL API a little bit. So yeah, well, I can't remember where I heard that. It was on a podcast or in a conversation with somebody. I can't remember, but yeah, it seems to me like they aren't super sold on that. And so between the two, I think that the REST API will definitely stay forever. And the GraphQL API, who knows? So that's why.
Okay. It's funny. I heard the opposite thing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast maybe a year ago. And I forgot who it was with, but it was someone who wrote a React Native app, I think for GitHub. And he was saying they actually recommended using the GraphQL API over the REST API.
Yeah. Well, one of us could be dated.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I will say this though, right? Because when I was going through the REST API versus the GraphQL API, if you look at the code for the REST API, when you want to make those recursive calls, you have to do that on the server side and then make a bunch of network requests. With the GraphQL API, I just had to make one call and it was like so much better for my life.
Yeah, I could appreciate that. And I definitely do a lot of heavy caching of GraphQL as well, so that I don't, or of GitHub, so I don't have to call into that, or I'm not making those calls so often because you could get rate limited even with the API key and stuff. So, yeah. So and actually, I have I'm using I can't remember what it's called. It's the REST client that is an open source library. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I'm using that, and they have a plugin that will throttle your requests to fit within the rate limiting. And so it'll just like the request will take longer because it's waiting for the rate limit time. And so that works out really well for me, even if I have to do a hard refresh on all of my blog posts, which results in just a ton of API calls. I still don't have any problem with that. So I can appreciate the value of using the GraphQL API for that. I do seem to recall there was something I couldn't easily do with the GraphQL API, and that's why I used the REST API. At the time, I was definitely much more bullish on GraphQL. I'm much less bullish on GraphQL now. So,
Cool.
yeah, I think they're both staying. It's fine.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, sure thing. All right, sweet. So let's see. Let me go back to the last place where I answered questions. We got a question from Cyblus. Yeah, here we go. Is fetching 5 to 6 fetch requests to API affect app performance? How can I trigger a function from an? Oh yeah. I remember answering this on the live stream last time, and it seems like I answered it with just like you import the function and you call it. But it seems like there was more context here. So you have a file named home and it has a function named handler, and that function work is to log user scroll. How can I add a logic that if the user scroll, that means a function called when it then it triggers a function in a file, which is about. Yeah, that's not enough. I don't understand that question. Sorry. Okay, Benjamin, I was wondering what the best approach when you need to handle multiple catch boundary in one route. I was going to define an enum to pass that filter in the response row. We could then switch on the catch boundary, although it means I can't really embed satellite information. I don't know what satellite information means. In the case of bad filter, I could show the filter that was provided but rejected. I'm not sure I understood bad filter. Okay, that's like one of the exceptions. Not sure what that means either, but maybe it's domain specific. One way to be JSON stringify current filter. Huh. Oh, I see. So it's like this is a bad request and it's because the filter was bad, maybe. So like you're sending a 400. 400s I wouldn't typically put in the, well, yeah. Normally I display 400s and just say, hey, you did something wrong. Let's see. Yeah. Anyway, we'll keep going. Then you saw it in the catch boundary to parse discriminating union. Yeah. Is it a valid way? Can you see a better pattern? Here, maybe I pop that open and get a little bit more context here. I don't understand what satellite information means, but just I'm guessing it's like, if I had to guess, it's like additional information. So the error is bad filter, and the reason is whatever. So, or here's the filter, I guess. Yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, so how would you go about doing this? I mean, there's no reason that a response thrown couldn't be a JSON. So I would probably throw JSON with, you know, satellite. I don't know how to spell satellite. It's right in front of my face. Satellite info. So whatever you need to in there, and then status of 400. That's probably what I would do. So I'll just put that there, and I hope that helps. And then, yeah, if you want to, you could do some Zod magic with that. That sounds reasonable. But yeah, that's probably what I would do. I hope that helps. Right. Any way to malk data coming from a WebSocket? I feel like I answered this last time. So maybe I skipped this, but anyway, not currently. And so you would want to mock out the, or what I would do today if I had to do this is I would make a module that's responsible for the WebSocket communication, and then my test would mock that module. I don't like it, but it's the only way I can think of doing it until MSW supports WebSockets, which I don't know if that's being actively worked on or not, because he does have a full-time job after all. Okay, cool. Now we're back to 10. What's up? And then Big Bang. Has anyone used React Native testing library with MSW special setup? I have not. I'm not sure whether there's special setup required, but I wouldn't think so. Yeah, I think the reason that somebody added the bot response here is because you should provide a reproduction. I think what you were just asking is like, should I pursue this path? And I think the answer is yes, you should pursue the path. But I'm not sure what dragons wait for you. Sorry. Okay, that is all the questions. And it looks like we do have another person who joined the Zoom. Edward, do you have any questions that you wanted to ask, or you just hanging out? That's also welcome.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Yeah,
Morning.
I'm just hanging out, kind of just first time listening in. So just was curious.
Yeah, well, welcome. It's a hip happening place over here. So yeah, it doesn't look like we actually have any other questions, and I'm happy to hang out if any show up. So I'll close out slowly. But if there are no other questions, then I'm just going to go back on this mountain here. So, yeah, so just to wrap things up, and we'll see if any other questions pop in, as they often do. The Callcat podcast is a really great place for you to ask questions throughout the week. And as soon as I hang up here, I'm going to answer a question that somebody asked me yesterday on here. And so you simply record your call right here, just right in the browser, and then I record my response, and that gets turned into a podcast episode. So it's pretty cool. It's kind of fun. And yeah, I should probably figure out some pagination thing on here now, because we've got over, we're on episode 130 today. So there's quite a bit of stuff in here. It's kind of fun. So yeah, looks like there aren't any other questions. So I'm gonna take off. We'll see you next week. I don't think there's anything keeping me from doing this next week. Let me just double check my live stream schedule. Yeah, I'll be live on Office Hours the next 3 weeks. So, and I need to fill in my schedule for Epic Web Dev live streams. I'm not going to be live streaming after this. I'm going to be on the mountain. So yeah. So anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out, and we'll see you next week.
See ya. Enjoy the slopes.
Thanks, Darren. We'll see you. Bye, Edward.